Hey Minions, welcome to Crank It Up. I'm Jim Price, and on this episode of Action Awareness, I want to talk about Madness Unleashed of the Minions of Cthulhu. This video was requested by one of our viewers, and I just wanted to remind everyone that we love requests and want to set a dangerous precedent of giving the people exactly what they ask for. In the coming weeks, we'll be rolling out even more series and specials, so if you are looking for anything in particular, let us know in the comments or on our Facebook page, which you can find in the description for all our videos. Before we get to the card, I think it's important to get my bias out of the way so that I can remain objective. I don't like this faction. And yes, I've mentioned several times that I really like Innsmouth that no one else seems to like, so maybe it's me rather than the Minions of Cthulhu. I don't like their minions. But they do have some very powerful actions like Recruit by Force, Altar of Cthulhu, and Complete the Ritual. In my opinion, Madness Unleashed isn't one of them. This card has the ability to discard any number of Madness cards from your hand. For those unaware, Madness is a special type of action that costs you 1 point for each 2 copies in your possession, rounded down. For each one discarded by Madness Unleashed, you get to draw a card and play an extra action. I have 5 problems with this card, and I will detail all of them before offering use cases where it might actually matter. My first problem is with the setup. Madness Unleashed is the type of card that, on paper, screams that you should be making a big play. For the price you are paying, you would want to maximize your benefit by playing multiple actions. If you only played one, you'd be discarding a Madness card just to draw a new card, since the action you gained could have been the action used to play Madness Unleashed in the first place. Let's say that you were intending to play 3 total actions. With a normal hand limit of 10, that means that you would need 3 Madness cards, 3 actions to play, and Madness Unleashed. This makes it very difficult to do anything significant on previous turns. If you are going for 4 actions, that brings your card count up to 9. Yes, you draw cards from Madness Unleashed, based on the number of cards that you discard, but all the Madness cards have to be discarded up front before you draw anything, and you may not know what you are getting. Combine this with the fact that the Minions of Cthulhu do not have great card draw, with a card that I'm going to butcher if I try to pronounce it being the one exception. In fact, Madness itself might be the best source of card draw, and that's a terrible plan. I just see this card being very difficult to execute in terms of card quantity. My second problem is that the card seems redundant with Whispers in Darkness. Although it seems difficult to play 3 actions, I think it's entirely plausible and achievable to play 2. But Whispers in Darkness already gives you that. Yes, you need to draw a Madness card, but you need Madness anyway, so maybe this is how you activate it. Even the 2 Whispers in Darkness chained together would get you 3 action plays, so there is a workaround for Madness Unleashed, but either way you can give yourself 3 actions. Which brings up my next problem. What do you do with those actions? The Minions of Cthulhu just aren't that self-synergistic to me, not from the perspective of Madness Unleashed or even Whispers in Darkness. If this is meant to be a big play, what cards of the Minions of Cthulhu would you use? They have 2 copies of Whispers in Darkness, which just give you more actions and exacerbate the problem. Altar to Cthulhu is an engine card that gives you actions, which by virtue of playing Madness Unleashed, you should not really need. Complete the Ritual isn't the type of action that you would use as a mega play, but rather a stall tactic. The Action Reveal card may be, but what if you don't like what you get? You would expect to use extra minion plays or power boosts, anything to help break a base, but the Minions of Cthulhu don't have this. The only action I would really consider is Corruption as part of a mass destruction stall tactic. But this would mean drawing 2 more Madness cards to destroy 2 minions, and at a certain point you should be trying to gain points, not lose them. Your partner faction might have powerful actions, but you could always pair them with wizards if you wanted the extra action plays. This card doesn't really seem to be a selling point for the Minions of Cthulhu, which brings me to my 4th issue with the card. Discarding Madness is terrible. Once discarded, they are very hard to get rid of, and you just accumulate negative points. To get rid of them, you either need an ability to help you or to play them as an action. I don't think discarding Madness cards to get extra action plays to get rid of more Madness in your hand is a good idea either. You're just trading one problem for another. The only reason the Miskatonic University works is because they have the means to get rid of Madness from your discard pile. They have 2 copies of Jinkies and 3 copies of Psychologist. I rarely use the Librarian because I hate discarding Madness just for a single card, but I'm willing to do so when I get an extra minion and an extra action from the Professor. Often, that action will be Jinkies, which gets rid of the Madness I just discarded, as well as the previous one. But the Minions of Cthulhu don't have this type of Madness removal, which increases the heaviness of the price. My 5th and final problem with this card, and this may be me just being petty, is that Madness Unleashed suddenly makes Poopox look like a viable option, and that should never happen. If you play Madness Unleashed to play 2 actions, you discard 2 Madness, which is 1 VP, draw 2 cards, but you only gained 1 action since you used your regular action on Madness Unleashed. Poopox, however, lets you lose the same amount of VP, draw an additional card, and let you play either a minion or an action, which is more flexible. Yes, you are limited to playing one of those 3 cards, but Space Knight helps you know what you are getting. This is also a strict loss, as opposed to Madness, which could be eventually removed, but the Minions of Cthulhu aren't doing this themselves without base support. Unless you play at least 3 actions, Poopox is certainly an alternative. I have already said that I've never seen Poopox used, although our viewers have, and when a card I've never seen utilized looks equivalent or slightly better by comparison, something is wrong with your card. But despite all its issues, Madness Unleashed still has the potential to be powerful if we just find the right pairing. So what if we focus on the Madness removal? The first solution is to pair the Minions of Cthulhu with Miskatonic University. Miskatonic does have 2 actions that boost power, but I don't like the minions of these 2 factions together. However, this might not be a bad play as a means of mass Madness removal. You could discard 2 Madness cards to play 2 Jinkies, which removes up to 4 Madness from your discard pile. With the action retrieval of the Servitor, you can get the Jinkies back and go wild with these cards. Considering that Madness Unleashed lets you draw a card but doesn't force you to play the action immediately, this would solve the problem of using what you draw since you know what you are getting. But I'm still having trouble seeing the ultimate endgame other than a lot of Madness transactions, so this isn't my best choice for a combo. Instead, maybe we need to focus on the discarding aspect of the card, and anytime you think discards, you think ghosts. One of the sneaky aspects of the Cream Puff Man is that he is actually pretty good at getting rid of Madness from the discard pile, because Madness is a standard action. When you have to discard a card to do it, it could be the card you draw from Madness Unleashed. You could also choose not to draw every card eligible, just thinning your hand to power up your ghosts. Each card discarded makes your Cream Puff Man stronger. You would also have an endgame for the actions played. You can get Ghostly Arrival for extra minion plays, Door to the Beyond for power, Shady Deal for VPs, or even Make Contact. If done correctly, you can farm Shady Deal every turn by recycling it with your servitors and using the Cream Puff Man for hand size control. Madness Unleashed would help you bring the Titan out. But this still doesn't seem like a natural fit for the card. If you are going to go for the action route, I believe you need to be breaking a base by yourself to justify the VPs you are essentially discarding, or do something really unexpected. A double augmentation Rampage combination is nice, but if you are costing me victory points, I want more, much more. In this case, my pick would be the Kaiju, since they have actions that grant extra actions as well in Kaiju Conflict. If you could play 4 or 5 actions, you can play a series of Kaiju actions and save the last 2 actions for 2 copies of Kaiju Alliance, which would reduce the total breakpoint of all bases by 8 power. If you spread yourself out, your opponents would be unlikely to follow suit unless they had a movement faction. Stomps can also do an additional 5 breakpoint damage, so if you were to spread out accordingly, 2 or 3 bases in a single turn is not out of the question. Given that Madness Unleashed lets you draw cards and 17 of the kaiju cards are actions, this combination is actually achievable. Most factions don't have the actions needed to utilize this kind of massive play, but the kaiju do. In fact, if you were able to lead with a kaiju alliance or two and sacrifice Servitors of Cthulhu to put them back on top of your deck, making them the cards drawn by Madness Unleashed, you may be able to win the game that turn between Whispers in Darkness and Kaiju Alliance. Imagine that, 4 Kaiju Alliances in a turn for 16 breakpoint damage, plus the power of actions and minions in play you already had there, as well as the other actions you can play. If you're going to unleash madness, it's go big or go home, and this is a great way to do it. As much as I don't like Madness Unleashed, I love how Smash Up always finds opportunities for every cards it seems. Sure, it would be 9 expansions before the kaiju joined the Minions of Cthulhu, but better late than never. I have a hard time justifying playing this faction, and the fact that they got a Titan might validate my distrust. But if you are going to pay the price of madness, you need to know what it would do and how to maximize it. There's certainly a lot to unpack here, so what do you think about the card and my problems with it? Let me know in the comments. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let's shut it down.